So let's get started with the case. This is going to be the first case that we watch. And this is the mom in Michigan that left her kids home alone for 3 years. She had family members dropping off food. She was dropping off food, but they were not dropping off any toiletries, any toilet paper.
The defendant instructed the...
Let's move our thing over so you can see.
Kids that they were not to answer the door or leave the house. The defendant instructed the kids that they were not to answer the door or leave the house. All 3 children expressed fear about what their mother's response would be if they left the home.
They didn't know what was going on with the kids. They had been told by her that somebody else was babysitting the children.
The children's bodies and clothing were covered in feces, and the girls had difficulty physically walking outside of the residence.
She is not to have any contact with these children by family members, third-party agents, or friends.
I want to show you some images from inside a house in Michigan. Take a look. This is from the Oakland.
Baby, do you see this? Do y'all see this? This is diabolical. Like, you cannot tell me that the neighbors didn't hear nothing, didn't see nothing, didn't smell nothing. Maybe I'm just a nosy neighbor, because ain't no way none of my neighbors would have been able to leave their children at home in a townhouse. They live in a townhouse. They don't live in just a regular house that's spaced out from other people. They live in a townhouse. They have a neighbor on the left side. They have a neighbor on the right side. So you mean to tell me the kids never opened the door? Okay, they was listening to their mom. They never opened the door. They didn't want to get in trouble. But they never looked out the window? The neighbors never seen them looking out the window? There's no way. Then look at all the trash that's on the floor in the bathroom. Like, you can't even see the floor. Look at all the trash. Could you imagine what it smells like in there? These kids are in there smelling this odor. This just made me angry all over again. Oh, my Lord. On top of the fact, like, what do you think this stuff is on the wall? All this here on the wall. What you think that is? I'm sure it's not chocolate. Okay? You can just only imagine what that is. This is just so heartbreaking. Like, so heartbreaking. Like, why would she leave her kids? It has to be something going on with her mentally to be able to leave them for so long. And where was the family? And who was the family members and friends that was dropping off the food? They need to be locked up too.
County Sheriff's Office. Look at this absolute mess. And there are things that are so disturbing and disgusting that they're blurred out in some of these photos. And this looks like it's a bathroom of sorts. Let me show you another photo. Again.
Look at all of that. Do you see this right here? That right there next to the Skittles bag, that looked like roaches. This right here on the bottom, that looked like roaches. So you mean to tell me they living in there with bugs too? Oh my God. I mean, just think, if she telling them not to go out, where the landlord at? Where is the landlord? That's what I just realized. Where's the landlord? Why hasn't the landlord come by to check on them? Why hasn't the landlord stopped by the house, do a pop-up visit or something? I heard the landlord had said that she hadn't paid the rent since December. So that's why he sent the police for a welfare check. The landlord sent the police for a welfare check. She hadn't paid the rent since December. He didn't start the eviction process. She didn't pay the rent in January. He didn't start the eviction process, because if she'd start the eviction process, the sheriffs come to get you and your stuff out. February came around. There was no rent given. He called the police for a welfare check. They went and did a welfare check, and this is what they found. This is so disturbing. So disturbing.
Again, from inside a home. Now, this is what you need to think about when you look at these pictures. There are 3 young children living alone in this home for years. Like young children, trying to figure things out and somehow surviving through this. Take a look at the next photo. Here's a bathtub. You don't want to know what's in that bathtub. This is a story that will make you absolutely cry the more you learn about what happened here. So let's get some more information. Joining me, the man overseeing this investigation, Oakland County Sheriff Michael Bouchard. Sheriff, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Am I correct that you have 3 young children over the course of years that are living alone in this home, never leaving the house?
Absolutely correct. The 2 young girls never left the house the whole time. The young boy, and this will tear at your heart even more, left twice for mere moments, once to go to the mailbox and once because he wanted to go out and feel what the grass felt like.
As we look at the conditions inside, everyone's wondering, how did they survive this? How did they eat? Where did they sleep? How did they bathe? How would you describe what these children went through, and how many years are we talking about here?
Yeah, so a lot of those things you talk about, how they bathed and how they did hygiene activities, the answer is sadly they didn't.
Baby, did he just say? He said they didn't. So they was in there in that house. The 15-year-old son said he thinks that the mom left in 2021. He remembers that they were doing COVID school online when she left and never came back. So they were done with COVID school online, and I guess was getting ready to go back to school in person, but they never went back in person. So that has to be like 2021, fall 2021. I don't know what they did in Michigan, but in California, our kids went back to school in person August of 2021, hybrid. So they would go to school 3 days a week, and they did that for like 2 months, and then they started going 5 days a week. And then the other 2 days where they weren't going in person, they were on Zoom doing school. This is just terrible. Could you imagine the way they smell, the way their bodies are? They have to have some type of, especially the girls probably got some type of infection, you know, because they weren't bathing for 3 to 4 years. On top of that, their hair was not combed. Their hair was not done. You see what I'm saying? That's heartbreaking.
Their toenails were so long when we recovered them that they had difficulty walking outside of the house. We don't believe any hygiene products had been dropped off to the house literally for years. The toilet and the bathtub were non-functional from trash and feces. And they didn't even know how to use hygiene products like a toothbrush. They had to be instructed when we had them at the hospital. So thank God kids are resilient when they're little and young, and they manage to survive. But it was only, I think, by the grace of God to get through this torturous kind of situation. Food was dropped off on an irregular basis on the front porch. They didn't have contact with the outside world or adults for love, for education, for guidance, for anything.
Did they have any form of communication or insight into the outside world, like what was out there?
They had a television, so they were spending a lot of time on television. They had no schooling going on. So, part of the process going forward will be to...
So y'all see how all those houses are lined up? They're so close to each other. I don't see how the neighbors didn't know. I mean, come on, 3 years?
determine not only their physical health, but their mental health and their...
Look, this is the neighbor's house. You see that door right there? Where their house is the orange sticker on the window. That's their house, right? The beginning house number 65. Then next door to the left is another red door. That's another neighbor. Then on the other side, there's another neighbor. How do they not know?
Educational level, where are they? Since they've been, in this stasis.
Like, look at that. That whole building has at least 5 families on it. 5 families. Baby, that's like 3 to 4 birthdays, 3 to 4 Christmases, 3 winters in the snow alone. Oh my God. Oh, it's making me emotional. I'm not going to cry.
If you will, going all the way back to COVID years, where they haven't had any educational instruction. So more than likely they fell backwards. And that's all going to be part of the undertaking to figure out exactly what has to be done to remediate that and help them get on a better path.
And where was mom and dad?
So for a time, Dad was incarcerated. And when he got out at some point, he petitioned the court to have visitation of the children. She contested it. And finally, a consent agreement was entered a couple of years ago, but she still was not allowing him visitation. So he was not in the picture. She was, as I said, occasionally dropping food or having it delivered by like an Instacart or other folks. So she had no contact with the girls and only limited contact via phone to the young boy.
Is there any indication as to why?
So wait a minute. That's news to me. He said that she had Instacart, DoorDash type places delivering food. So she wasn't even going and delivering food. So they haven't seen their mom in years. Like, oh my God. This is worse than neglect. And Dad was locked up. And then when he got out, he tried to get visitation and she wouldn't even let him have visitation. Like, that's just wrong. Like, why didn't you let them go and live with their dad or their grandparents if you couldn't take care of them? Or give them to foster care?
Happened?
Yeah, I don't think any answer would ever make any of us feel any better about it, because how could you? But, nothing that makes any sense to us at this point.
And how did you find these children? How was this sort of uncovered and these children end up being saved?
So originally we got a phone call from the landlord of this property who had said that he had not heard or had contact with the woman paying the rent, the suspect in this case, for some period of time. And in fact, she had not.
Oh, this is another view of the house. So it looks like there's actually 6 properties on this one location. Or it could be 12 properties, because I'm not sure if the door on the bottom, that door down there on the bottom, I don't know if that's another house. Oh, it must be. It must be. Because look at here. If you look at this first door where the stairs are, that one has an address on top of the red door. And then on the bottom brick, there's another address on the bottom that's a totally different number. So I'm wondering if this building has 12 units instead of just 6 units. I don't know. I've never even been to Michigan before.
paid the rent going back to October. So he was concerned about her well-being. So we went to the home looking to check in on her and make sure she was okay. And imagine our surprise when we found what we found, with 3 children living in squalor, literally alone and abandoned for years.
How were the children frightened?
Yes, they were scared. They were hiding. 2 of them had locked themselves in a bathroom away from our deputies. And yeah, they were very scared. You know, they had been scared and taught not to go outside and not to talk to anyone else.
And there's a lot of people watching at home right now, and their hearts are broken. They want to help. Is there a way people can reach out and help these children?
Yeah, so we have collected all the clothing, if you will, and things on those kind of initial levels that we needed, and we've pivoted to collecting donations. And that is on our social media, Facebook and Instagram, Oakland County Sheriff, that's Oakland County Sheriff, Michigan. So on our webpage, we have a link. 100% of that money that we collect will go to these kids, and to take an extra step to further protect the kids from anyone siphoning any of that off for any reason. We've got an attorney who agreed for pro bono to set up a trust fund to make sure that the money goes directly for the kids' physical health, mental health, and if there's money left over, educational health going forward. The other big question a lot of folks ask, which I'm sure your viewers are, how did they fall through so many cracks, not only with the community and relatives?
Yeah, that's what we want to know. We want to know, how did they fall through the cracks? How did the school not know? How did the neighbors not know? And how did the family not know? When the dad wasn't able to get visitation, why did he not petition the court to go and get those kids? Or why did he not just show up and knock on the door?
But schools. And so when I dug a little deeper, I found the school code in our state is silent on student transfers. When one school district requests transcripts of a student, which happened in this case, both from one school in the city to another, neither confirmed that they were actually attending, and so they were dropped from both roles. They were never had any written confirmation that, okay, we have them. And so I am proposing and asking the legislature to create language that says before a student is dropped from the rolls, you have to have written confirmation from an official at another school they have them, they are enrolled there, or they're in a different setting.
So that makes total sense why we were thinking, like me as a social worker, I'm thinking they didn't drop the ball. The school dropped the ball because when here in California, when a kid is transferred to a different school, you have to have written documentation to say this child is enrolled. You can now drop them from your school. We have all their paperwork. We have their cum file. They have been in attendance. That's a law here in California. We have that in all of our counties. So I was confused as to why the schools didn't communicate about the transfer. So that makes sense as to why nobody from the school came and knocked on the door. Because as a school social worker, that's what we do. We knock on doors. We go and knock on the door. We'll bring the police with us if we need to. But as a social worker, school social worker, we follow up on truancy. We follow up on neglect. We follow up on any type of abuse of any kind. And we go to the house. We knock on the door.
Could be homeschooling or whatever the case may be, but written confirmation. Otherwise, it triggers an investigation.
Absolutely. Sheriff Michael Bouchard out in Oakland County, Michigan. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time and great work. And folks, go on Facebook and in the Instagram site, Oakland County, Michigan Sheriff's Office. Help those kids out. All right, let's bring back in our think tank. Still with us, Eklund Mercy, Kirk Nurmi, Nima Rahmani. Nima, this is, it's inexplicable, but it happened. It happened. And I don't know how it happened. And you think about the whole system here, right? You have a father, okay, he was in jail, but he got out for whatever he did and wanted to see his kids. And somehow, some way, was denied that ability. That would have stopped this a while ago. Thank goodness the landlord complained. Or the landlord had a big heart and was worried about his tenant.
Well, or he was worried that his tenant wasn't paying rent since October. Imagine if she had been paying her rent, Vinny. we'd still probably have these kids in there. I mean, I don't understand how this happens. I mean, the sheriff talked about the school, right? I mean, no one knows where these kids are. Dad, either in dependency court or family court, can't have any custody. What about the family members? Reportedly, Kelly Bryant's mom was taking care of these kids, but grandma hasn't seen her grandchildren in years. I don't know how this possibly could have happened. This is such a failure on so many levels that the landlord has to be. What about the mail? No one's checking the mail, the post.
Exactly. He is so right. What about the mail? What about the trash? What about the lights and electricity and stuff? He said that they had TV, they're watching TV, so they got to be paying the internet and all that type of stuff. But what about the trash? Like, there's no way the neighbors did not know. You cannot convince me.
Post office doesn't know for years that no one is getting mail at this house. I mean, Vinny, I'm at a loss, and I've seen a lot, and we all have on the think tank. We've been doing this for decades. I've never seen a case
This is bad.
like this.
I don't understand that. Eklund.
It just seems like spite. I think the mom just had a whole level of spite. The idea that we have court paperwork in which the dad petitioned, mom won, and this is what mom did with the win. Wow.
That right there, so heartbreaking. Do you know how many dads that fight to be in their kids' lives and the moms spitefully keep the kids away? That is not right. I do not condone that. Now, if the dad is dangerous and it doesn't matter if it's a dad, a mom, or whatever. If one of the parents is dangerous and a danger to the children that can harm the children or keep the kids in a harm's way or neglectful to the children, then yes, I understand the whole getting the courts involved, doing supervised visitation, all of those things. I totally agree with that. But if dad is not harmful, why did the courts not allow him to get visitation? And why did she abandon the kids and not even allow dad to see them or her own mom? It's not making any sense, y'all. I mean, if it's making sense to you in the chat, go ahead and type why it's making sense to you in the chat. If it's not making no sense to you in the chat, go ahead and type W's in the chat. Because, baby, let me tell you.
Boggles me. The idea that there's possibly child support payments that went to that house and not one person let's do a hearing to check up on the kids to see where they're at. It's
Yeah.
I'm speechless.
Yep.
You know what? It
takes a lot for Eklund to be speechless. Kirk, we have about 15 seconds left. I'll let you wrap this up for us.
You know, it's both heartbreaking and anger-inducing, but kudos to Sheriff Burchard and his department for stepping up and raising funds for these kids and thinking about their future, because this is really what matters here. The case is going to proceed. She's going to do serious prison time, but we're going to have 3 kids who need the community's help, and I'm grateful that Sheriff Burchard is taking the time to do that. That's awesome.
Kirk Norman, Nima Rahmani, Eklund Mercy, thank you all so much. Great to see you.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. All I can say is wow.
Is
because
what mother leaves her young kids alone in the house? What mother leaves her young kids alone in the house for 4 years?
Everybody's upset about it. Like, oh my God, this is right in our neighborhood.
Apparently,
she a neighbor. She didn't see nothing. Miss Neighbor. You didn't see nothing, Miss Moss?
this woman, her landlord, stopped getting rent and hearing from her, so he called 911 for a welfare check.
Had no idea that there were kids there, let alone kids in grave situation.
3 children were inside, trash piled up, poop everywhere. The kids said that their mother left them there since at least 2021.
They had difficulty walking because their toenails were so long.
A despicable discovery, and the Shade Room is digging. Her Facebook post that's got people on social media on 10.
I'm Justin Carter. This is TSR Investigates. It doesn't get lower than this. It was Valentine's Day, a day to celebrate love. But it turned into a day of horror in Pontiac, Michigan, which is a suburb of Detroit. It was horror that a 15-year-old boy, a 13-year-old girl, and a 12-year-old girl had been living for years. This was their normal. We're blurring out some parts, but you can see the bathroom overtaken by trash, mold, and feces. The girls, they slept.
Okay, wait a minute. I just seen you in the chat. I am Detroit. Oh, I am Detroit. She just said, or he just said, the bottom are different addresses. So it is 16, it is 12 to 16 units on that one building. So there's no way all these neighbors did not see what was going on. They saw the boy go out and get the mail. Somebody got a ring light camera around there. Somebody got a ring camera around there. Somebody had to see him get the mail or go out to touch grass one time, and nobody saw him. They're like, oh, whatever happened to that 15-year-old kid? We ain't seen him in months. They never thought to, call the police or say anything. There's no way the neighbors didn't see anything. I am Detroit in the chat said that those are different addresses on the bottom of the stairs. So there has to be at least 12 to 16 units on that one building.
On pizza boxes. They had not seen the light of day since about 2020 or 2021. But how? Where were the neighbors? Where was the school district? Their extended family members? Questions that we're getting down to the bottom of.
We went to the house to check on what was going on there and had no idea that there were kids there, let alone kids in grave situation.
Their hair was matted. They were covered in urine and feces.
When we took the kids out of the house, they had difficulty walking because their toenails were so.
Oh yeah, you right, Detroit. I am Detroit. You so right. There's an address here and there's an address here. And there's 2 red doors here. So I wonder if these 2 red doors are 2 different units. I don't know.
So long. They hadn't had any grooming. I don't think they had basic hygiene knowledge of what to do. They hadn't been given hygiene products for years, and toothbrushes, etc.
It was everyday life for these 3 siblings. Oakland County Sheriff Michael Bouchard telling the Fox affiliate in Detroit that they had not attended school since their abandonment. Instead, they were locked inside this condo on Lydia Lane to never come out.
We showed up at the house.
Now let's look that up. 660 Lydia Lane. 660 Lydia Lane. Pontiac is the city name. It came right up. Pontiac MI. We're going to look at the street view. Oh, yeah. Y'all, let me put this on the big screen for y'all. Let me put this on the big screen for y'all. Let's go to Google. I need to put Google on my thing here. Okay, so it's 660 Lydia Lane, Pontiac, Michigan. There we go. Came right there. MI. It's a 3-bedroom. So let's look at the image. Ooh, look at there, y'all. They got a whole bunch of them. Okay, so if this is the front of theirs, this is theirs right here, 660. So if that's 1 unit with the stairs, 2 units here, that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They in number 8. Then we got 9, 10, 11, and then 12. Let's see if it's another one over here. Yep, so 12 units. Okay, and I don't see no mailbox out here in the front. Do y'all see a mailbox? No, that's just grass over there. Let's see. I don't see no mailbox, y'all. So I'm not sure where he going to the mailbox at. I don't see no mailboxes. Like, I don't even see a mailbox here. I don't see no mailbox. Oh, look, they go to trash cans in the backyard right there. Trash cans in the back. So nobody's seen the trash. And so nobody's seen them taking out the trash. We don't see no mailbox. This is their unit right here. Okay? This their unit right here. That's where you saw the orange sticker. So here go a neighbor. And here go two neighbors. So at least this neighbor right here and this neighbor right here had to hear or see something. Something. Okay? And it's 3 stories. Child, this just made me all upset all over again. So this one right here is $660. Child.
House, the young boy did have communication with the mom and said the police were there, and she said hide.
The 2 girls, they did hide in the bathroom.
So did he have a cell phone or a house phone? Baby, it's getting worse. It's getting worse.
Until they were asked to open the door.
There was garbage, trash piled 3 and 4 feet high, covered with feces all through the house. It doesn't look like the toilet or the bathtub had been usable or workable for quite some time, primarily because of the feces and trash.
Investigators had to use hazmat suits to process the scene for evidence. The kids telling deputies that they spent day and night passing time by playing games and watching TV. They would only see their mother when she or another stranger would stop by once a week to drop pre-prepared food on the porch.
If you think about the horrific ads you see on TV to spur donations for animals that have been abused or are living in terrible conditions, multiply that by 10.
Sheriff Bouchard not releasing the mother's name because she shares the same name as one of her daughters. So we at the Shade Room, we're not sharing it either to protect the child's identity, but we did find the 34-year-old's mugshot in the county database. She's still sitting in jail.
Well, that went out the window. We know her name is Kelly Bryant.
Charges haven't been listed at this time. The prosecutor's office said publicly, quote, that it will not comment on the pending case until it has been reviewed and a charging decision has been made.
It's pretty heartbreaking that the kids would have to live under those conditions. People just kind of get in their car and go.
Neighbor Emma Gross couldn't believe it. She lives on a different block, but says that in that neighborhood.
Okay, so that's why she didn't see nothing, because she lived on a different block. So I'm like, girl, you the neighbor, you didn't see nothing? That's why. She lived on a different street.
Everybody typically keeps to themselves.
So I think people are just kind of just doing their own thing now and just kind of going in their places and closing the doors.
Neighbors reported seeing the mother come and go with items, but...
Oh, wait a minute. So I was wrong. This is not the house. It's this one over here on this corner. So they got one neighbor here, 2 neighbors downstairs, and then they house. And then this house. Child, they still got the one on the left and the one on the right. You know they heard something, seen something, smelled something. Ain't no way they didn't smell that odor. Ain't no way.
But never spotted any children with her. You also can't ignore what role the Pontiac School District played in all of this. The district confirming Monday that the 3 children are not currently enrolled, and they couldn't comment any further. The interim superintendent, Dr. Kimberly Leverett, releasing a statement saying in part, quote, "The Pontiac community has been shaken by the horrifying story of the 3 children who were discovered suffering from extreme neglect this past weekend. As a school district, we are working with the Oakland County Sheriff's Department to assist in any way we can. As educators, our hearts are breaking for these children and what they have endured over the past several years."
How could something like this happen? These children, how could people go living every day and not see something like this and report it sooner?
A question so many want to know, and why their mother, too, had been posting on Facebook a week prior to her arrest, advertising a free food giveaway.
What? She having a free food giveaway on February 5th? On February 5th, she having a free food giveaway while her babies are at home starving, living in squalor, living in filth. She having a free food giveaway. That breaks my heart so bad. That's like a mom who has like borderline personality disorder or narcissistic personality disorder or histrionic personality disorder. Like they have this like hero complex where they like go out and they help everybody in the world. They're so kind, so sweet, so loving, so all these things to everybody out in the world. And only the people closest to them see their like mean, spiteful, vindictive side. Like, you know, and it's like they always have this whole facade like everybody's against them, but they're just so sweet and kind and so loving. And this pretty much shows that with this. Like you having a food giveaway. You having a food giveaway. And your kids at home starving to death and don't have no food. This is so heartbreaking. So heartbreaking. If you are in a situation like this, please leave the house, call 911, go to a neighbor, get help. Get out of the situation however you can, as fast as you can. This is so heartbreaking. It breaks my heart to know there's so many children who actually go through this, who are actually neglected, and they're so vulnerable and they have nobody to turn to. It's heartbreaking.
Knowing that her children were home alone, living in squalor.
Everybody's upset. Everybody's upset about it. Like, oh my God, this is right in our neighborhood. How could something like this happen?
What about their extended family? Well, the children's alleged aunt has been very vocal on social media about this, even threatening to fight people on Facebook who come after her. She said that she had no idea what was going on. We've reached out to her for a comment. We're waiting to hear back. The sheriff's office, in the meantime, says that the mother was arrested without incident at another location and that the children's father was not involved in their lives. The children, though, they've been turned over to a relative through Child Protective Services as the sheriff's office is collecting donations now on the family's behalf. For ways to donate, for ways you can help, visit our website at theshaderoom.com. For TSR Investigates, I'm Justin Carter.
You did a good job, Justin. I usually only see mess on the Shade Room. I didn't know they did stories like this. Baby, that is just so heartbreaking. Like, that was beyond heartbreaking. Like, just to see more and more things. Like, I've been watching the videos and the clips and stuff like that on YouTube and on TikTok, but to see even more stuff come out, like the fact that she hasn't been there in months, but the son called her to let her know, like she hasn't been there in years, but the son called her to let her know that the police were there, and she told them to hide. Like, did he have a cell phone? Did he call from the house phone? Like, I have a house phone because I have small kids. So, and I have cell phone, and they have iPad. So, how, like, why? Like, we have so many questions. And then the fact, like, they went to family. Who in the family took them? Maybe her mom did. Maybe her mom took them because they said that the kids were really close to her mom. So maybe her mom took them. I don't know. I guess we'll never know. But I cannot wait till this goes to trial, because, baby, we definitely going to be watching this. We're going to be watching the live trial. We're going to be covering this. This is diabolical. Like, it's so heartbreaking. It's so heartbreaking. Like, I hope and pray that those kids get into therapy, they get help, they grieve properly, and they just know that they are loved. I hope whoever take them in the family just pour so much love into them. They're going to have so much trauma that they're going to have to be in therapy for years. They're going to need lots of help, lots of therapy. And they said the kids, the daughters could barely walk because their toenails were so long. They were so neglected. I'm sure they're probably going to have to cut all their hair off because it's probably matted. But, I mean, it'll grow back. They'll be able to, like, braid it and stuff like that. They're going to be so shy going back to school. Just think about how their whole life is going to completely change. They have been isolated in the home for the last 4 years. They haven't been out of the house in 4 years. The youngest had to be, like, in first grade or second grade. They're going to be so far behind in school academically. Even the son, the 15-year-old, he hasn't been to school since elementary. Now he going to high school. That's a huge transition. You know what I'm saying? And they're going to be... It's just so much that goes into all of this. It's just like so much that they're going to experience, that they're going to go through. And it's honestly heartbreaking. It's honestly heartbreaking. So let's say a prayer for the kids. God, I ask that you watch over them, keep them, heal them, help them, make them whole again. I ask that you continue to be with them and prosper them in their life. I ask that you protect them and guide them and keep them safe from hurt, harm, and any danger. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I pray that they put mom under the jail because, I don't know, them mamas up in there, they might not be so kind to her. She might end up hurt. And that's even more scary.